really curious, in your experience and perspective, like, how does creativity, beauty, art, and or storytelling, how does that on-ramp people into transcendence or being aware of something bigger than themselves?
I think of the sort of this powerful trio of art, faith, and science as being these. I don't know the science well enough, but I'm going to say uniquely human characteristics that are how we on ramp into transcendence. They are the way we grapple with eternal questions, right? And they are the way we grapple with the vast difference of our tiny scale as these living, breathing creatures that die and are born, and a universe that vastly dwarfs us. And we make sense of it through art and faith and science. And that's how we've done it for thousands and thousands of years. And I think for me, transcendence exists in holding those things together. Here I am, this tiny person, and I'm making this drawing. And how wild is it to think that thousands of years later, it's in a museum 5,000 miles away? Like, it just doesn't even make sense. It's just, these paintings on these Fayum tomb Egyptian portraits that, who knew that they would, when they were being made, that they would exist thousands of years later? Certainly the person who drew them couldn't, but somehow they felt the need to represent this. And science is the same thing, right? The audacity to think that there's something more to be discovered about the universe, that, billions of people haven't figured it out already. And yet people go out there and say, but what if there's something more to learn? What if there's something more to learn? How can I push this a little bit further? And how can I make the world make a little bit more sense? And of course, faith, because to me, faith asks the ultimate questions, those questions where, those same eternal questions where we fall short, right? Where we're sort of like, what does it mean for us to be together and believe one thing and also be very different? What does it mean for us to have life and then not have life? And do we have life again? And I think when we embrace those experiences, we feel transcendence because we feel this deep feeling inside of ourselves and the sense of being part of something so much larger, right? It's hard not to walk into a church, into a museum, into a laboratory and not feel like we are part of this vastly bigger thing that we may never understand or fully grasp. But there are these little human moments that have reminded us over time that we can try. And so I think all of that onboarding is related to storytelling. All of that is related to storytelling, and obviously the crisscrossing between faith and art and science is huge, right? It's some of the people of greatest faith have been the greatest scientists, have been the greatest artists. And, obviously not everyone exists in all of those spaces. There are plenty of people of faith who think that art and science is, a load of muck, and plenty of scientists who think that about art and faith. But so it's a big mixture, but it's all about storytelling, about saying, okay, what is the story that, that helps me contend with a world that is so much vastly bigger than myself and find my place and meaning in it nonetheless, right? I can't ignore the fact that the world is huge, and I can't ignore the fact that I'm just one person. And story is what lets us traverse that,
And I have a really important, unique role in that large story.
Yes, exactly. I mean, and that's why stories have characters. Right? People often will come to me saying, oh, I want to make a documentary about, this disease or, this idea. And you can make an essay about that or write a book about that, but it's not a story. It's not a story until there's some kind of character, and where we're asking ourselves, why is this character important? Why is this decision? Why is this, but we imbue it, we give it meaning. We say this story matters, and it reminds us that our story matters too.